Ilia Topuria says he's back. What you think about that?
He better be, because I'm supposed to fight him in June on the White House card.
Uh-oh.
That's who I'm fighting.
Oh, that's who you want.
That's who I have to have. That's why I fought for this thing. White House in June, let's go.
What's next?
Ilia Topuria on the White House. Has to be. Has to be. No other option.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Walking out of the Oval Office into the cage, wearing the flag.
Entertaining.
I think we're gonna main event it. I think we'll be the main event.
Boom.
Let's go. Once in a lifetime.
I'm totally guessing, throwing shit against the wall right now.
Yeah. Universe.
But I mean, what else?
You know what I think will probably happen? You know what I think will probably happen?
We'll see it.
I think there'll be co-headline. You'll be one of them, so that they can say, like, the man who's never had a bad fight, definitely here. So that's a draw.
Yeah.
And then they put whatever else on there. So I think co-main event. I think for sure.
Co-main. Who's main?
This man just declared war on the most dangerous division in MMA, and what happened next is going to blow your mind. Ilia Topuria isn't just coming back for another belt. He's hunting the one fighter who could end his entire legacy before it even begins.
Then McGregor's gonna fight me, and we'll be main event anyway.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, never had a bad fight. Okay.
Yeah, it would be if Ilia didn't come back, they would strip him. I'd become the undisputed, and then McGregor gets to fight whoever he wants. So I guess that would be an option.
About a rematch with Volk. But the one thing that we have to acknowledge as fans is Volk's never asked for a rematch. Volk's got nothing to do at 45 that anybody wants to see. This is all pretend. We're pretending. But we would like to see him go up to 55. That would be interesting if Volk, much like he challenged Islam, challenged Ilia. I digress.
Let's get one thing straight about Gregor first, because everyone's missing the real story here. Yeah, he's been getting absolutely demolished in there, tossed around like he's caught in a hurricane. But here's what nobody's talking about. This isn't just about one fighter struggling. This is exposing something way bigger about the entire division. When you watch Gregor getting manhandled fight after fight, you're seeing the brutal reality of what happens when the skill gap becomes a canyon. The man's not just losing decisions. He's getting his soul crushed in there, and it's becoming painful to watch. His corner knows it. The commission knows it. Hell, even the fans are starting to turn away. But this systematic destruction of Gregor is actually setting up the perfect storm for what's about to happen next.
But that win brings into question that they'd only completed one round, and that round was won by Volk.
Because while everyone's focused on that carnage, the real puppet master has been plotting something absolutely insane. They're trying to tell you that Ilia Topuria just got lucky against Alexander Volkanovski. Lucky. Can you believe that? They're spreading this narrative that it was a fluke knockout, a perfect storm of timing, maybe Volk was off his game. But let me tell you exactly why they're pushing this story, and it has nothing to do with what actually happened in that octagon. The old guard is terrified. They've built their entire careers analyzing predictable patterns, and then this Georgian savage shows up and completely rewrites the playbook. One perfectly timed shot, and suddenly their golden boy is unconscious, staring at the ceiling, questioning everything he thought he knew about fighting. That wasn't luck. That was surgical precision disguised as raw violence.
Just been knocked out by... But we lose the right to have that discussion and not just crown Ilia the greatest 45-pounder ever. We lose that right when the principal, who's Volk, never said, I want to try that again. It's relevant. It's very relevant to the story. If everybody just sat down and goes, this is the best guy, we don't have a debate. We got nothing to fight.
And here's where it gets absolutely wild. Topuria didn't just knock out Volkanovski. He erased him completely. You know what true dominance looks like. It's not just beating someone. It's making them never want to face you again. It's planting that seed of doubt so deep in their mind that every time they close their eyes, they see your fist coming at their face. Volk hasn't said a word about a rematch. Nothing. Radio silence. That's not coincidence. That's psychological warfare at its finest. When a champion gets knocked out, they usually demand their rematch immediately. They talk about what went wrong, how they'll adjust, how it won't happen again. But when they go completely quiet, that means something broke inside them that night. Something that can't be fixed with better training or a different game plan. Topuria didn't just win a belt. He conquered a man's spirit.
is the greatest of all time, which, by the way, I heard on TV 1 week ago, and I came on this channel and I repeated 1 week ago. Do I have the right to say that? After Ilia stomped him out in decisive fashion inside of 8 minutes. Shouldn't I say that Ilia is the greatest 45-pounder of all time?
Now here's the kicker, and this is where everyone's completely missing the point. Cleaning out featherweight was never Topuria's real goal. That was just the warm-up. The man has been talking about lightweight since before he even had gold around his waist. Think about that level of confidence for a second. Most fighters spend their entire careers trying to defend one title, and this madman is already planning his invasion of the most stacked division in the sport. But it gets even crazier. He didn't just talk about moving up eventually. He called out Islam Makhachev directly, by name, while Islam was the reigning champion. That's not ambition, that's declaring war on the most dangerous man on the planet while you're still fighting in a different weight class.
To beat guys' records or beat more guys than Jose Aldo, who cares? What difference does it make? Shouldn't we say that Ilia is the greatest 45-pounder of all time? Because we don't. We say it about the guy that Ilia shut off in less than 8 minutes. Fair enough. All right, we're at 155. What do we have to do to say that Ilia is the greatest 155-pounder of all time?
But wait, it gets worse. You want to know what real champions do? They don't just inflict physical damage. They leave psychological scars so deep that their opponent's entire identity shifts. Look at what happened to Volkanovski after that knockout. The man who was considered the pound-for-pound king suddenly looked mortal, vulnerable, human, and that ripple effect spread through the entire featherweight division. Suddenly, everyone realized that this wasn't the same sport they thought they understood. The techniques that worked for years, the strategies that built careers, none of it mattered when facing someone who operates on a completely different level. That's the Topuria effect. He doesn't just beat you. He makes everyone who watches question what they think they know about fighting.
To Khabib. And I do know that I hear some hardcore, some older guys say BJ Penn. So I think in a discussion, I think Khabib's gonna win that. Because after all, it's just a popularity. It's a vote.
Here's what nobody's talking about though, and this changes everything. Moving to lightweight isn't just about collecting another belt for Topuria. It's about proving that his destruction of Volkanovski wasn't a one-time thing. See, there's still whispers in the MMA community, still people saying maybe Volk was having an off night. Maybe the weight cut was rough. Maybe the stars just aligned perfectly for one moment. Those whispers, they eat at a true champion's soul. And the only way to silence them forever is to do something so spectacular, so undeniably dominant, that even the haters have to bow down. That something is walking into lightweight and taking Islam Makhachev's head off.
So what is it that Khabib did that Ilia's got to do? And I don't think that's just title defenses, by the way. I think it's the way you win. I think it's the dominance. And can Ilia, and this is a very relevant question that I'm about to ask you. Can Ilia be the GOAT operating in the same time, the same era as Islam, if those two never meet? As impressive as what Ilia has done.
And get this, the psychological warfare has already begun. Islam knows Topuria is coming. He's seen the interviews, heard the callouts, watched the featherweight division get systematically destroyed. But here's what's keeping Islam up at night. Topuria isn't just another contender looking for a payday. This is a man who's already proven he can end careers with one shot. A fighter who's never tasted defeat, never had to question his abilities, never had to rebuild his confidence after getting his face rearranged. That kind of mental edge is worth more than any physical advantage. When you've never lost, you don't know how to doubt yourself. And doubt is the one thing that can make even the most skilled fighter hesitate for a split second. In this sport, a split second is the difference between victory and getting your lights turned off.
Islam's done the same thing. And wouldn't you be forced to say that? Ilia's had one match at 155 pounds, and he won the world title. Islam's had one match at welterweight, and he won the title.
Now listen to this part carefully because this is where it gets really interesting. The UFC brass initially told Topuria he wasn't ready for Islam. Not ranked high enough in lightweight, hadn't earned his stripes in the division yet. Standard protocol, right? Wrong. That rejection wasn't about rankings or protocol. It was about protecting their investment. Islam Makhachev represents everything the UFC wants in a champion: dominant, marketable, connected to Khabib's legendary legacy. The last thing they wanted was some unranked savage rolling in and potentially derailing their carefully planned championship storyline. But here's what they didn't count on. Telling a true killer that he can't have something only makes him want it more. That rejection didn't discourage Topuria. It turned him into something even more dangerous.
He's a 2-division champion. How does Ilia surpass him? And there's a way. Right, first off, Islam has a loss. What do you want to do? Everybody, right, it's one of those things. What do you want to do with that? You want to hold that against him? You want to act like that doesn't speak to his greatness, as opposed to him getting caught in one moment? And what do you want to do? But eventually you're going to be...
Hold up, did you catch what just happened there? Topuria was calling for Islam before he even won the featherweight title, before he had any gold whatsoever. That's not just confidence, that's prophetic vision. He saw his entire career arc mapped out while everyone else was still trying to figure out who he was. Think about the mentality that takes. Most fighters hope to win their next fight. This man was already planning his conquest of 2 divisions simultaneously. And when Khabib himself essentially told him to earn it first, what did Topuria do? He went out and didn't just win the featherweight belt. He obliterated the most dominant champion that division had seen in years. One shot, lights out, statement made.
Also do have the timeline that Ilia came to that weight class calling out Islam. Islam publicly said no to that fight and went to 170. That statement right there cost me a relationship with Islam Makhachev, by the way. I don't think I've ever told you guys that story. Islam does not like that I make that statement, but that statement is 100% the way it happened.
But here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. That initial rejection from the lightweight division created something beautiful and terrifying. It gave Topuria a grudge, not just against Islam, but against the entire system that told him he wasn't ready. Champions are forged in moments of disrespect, and being told you can't have something you know you deserve, that's the ultimate disrespect. Now he's not just coming for the lightweight title. He's coming to prove that their rankings, their protocols, their careful matchmaking means absolutely nothing when a true predator decides it's hunting season. This isn't about earning opportunities anymore. This is about taking what was always his.
155. Now, he was looking at 170. He wanted to leave the weight class, but he didn't. He was the champion. And Ilia relinquished, moved to the division.
And here's where everyone's fundamentally missing the bigger picture. Topuria isn't building a resume. He's not playing the long game, working his way up rankings, taking safe fights to pad his record. That's what contenders do. Champions look at the biggest, baddest monster in the room and say, I want him next. The lightweight division isn't some insurmountable challenge for Topuria. It's just the next inevitable step in a journey that was always going to end with him holding multiple belts. The man has never tasted defeat, never had to question his abilities, never had to rebuild his confidence after getting humbled. That kind of unbroken spirit doesn't just disappear when you move up 15 pounds.
Going to have to fight and beat Islam. And that is exactly what Ilia tried to do. He went to the media, he worked very hard, he put a finger in Islam's chest, to the point...
Now get this, and this is absolutely insane. We're not talking about a quick turnaround here. The path to undisputed greatness across multiple divisions takes years. 5, maybe more, years of your body getting destroyed, your mind getting tested, your spirit getting pushed to the breaking point. Most fighters can't handle that level of sustained excellence. The training camps become harder. The opponents get more desperate. The target on your back grows bigger with every victory. But here's what separates legends from everyone else. They don't just survive that gauntlet, they thrive in it. They feed off the pressure, the expectations, the constant threat of someone trying to take everything they've built. And Topuria? This man has been preparing for this war since before he even had his first UFC fight.
Spawned. And Khabib said, we're not going to fight him. We're not going to fight him because he's not a 55-pounder. He has to do something, and then we will fight him. He has to do something with somebody. Get a ranking somewhere, and then we'll fight you. But right now, you're not in the rankings. Fair enough. This was their position. But if we have nothing else, right, if time goes by and these guys never touch one another, we are going to have to default back to that. That one guy tried to do it and was willing.
You're sitting there thinking about statistics, about title defenses, about longevity records. You're missing the entire point of what makes someone truly legendary. Topuria isn't coming back to build a traditional championship resume. He's coming back to make one statement so loud, so undeniable, that it echoes through MMA history forever. When he steps into that octagon with Islam Makhachev, it won't just be about winning another belt. It'll be about proving that some fighters are just built different, that some warriors operate on a level that transcends normal human limitations. That's not something you can measure with statistics or compare with other fighters' careers. That's something you can only witness once in a generation.
Fight you. We're forced to. We can't deny these things. So what would Ilia have to do? And I don't think it's as simple as go, okay, he's got to beat Sarukian, and he's got to defeat Gaethje, and he's got to handle this business with Paddy the Baddy. And at that point, he's the greatest ever. I don't know that it works like that. Like, there's a time period, there's a longevity, there's an adversity that you have to deal with. There's an adversity that he's dealing with right now, and he's working his way through. It's a very interesting pick. Ilia for greatest of all time. But there is going to have to be some time. We're talking about...
So here's the brutal reality that's about to unfold. Topuria versus Islam isn't just a fight. It's a collision between two different eras of mixed martial arts. On one side, you have the systematic, grinding dominance that built the lightweight division's reputation. On the other, you have explosive, unpredictable violence that can end careers in seconds. The old guard wants to protect their legacy, their carefully constructed narratives about who deserves what and when. But revolution doesn't ask permission. It just shows up and burns everything down. And that's exactly what's about to happen when the Georgian savage decides he's done waiting for opportunities and starts taking what he knows belongs to him. This isn't just about two fighters anymore. This is about the future of the sport itself, and honestly, I don't think the lightweight division is ready for what's coming. What do you think happens when an unstoppable force meets what everyone thought was an immovable object? Drop your predictions in the comments below, smash that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening, and subscribe because this war is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.
Or he could go to 170, beat Islam, and close the book on this whole thing right now. But isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? We don't call Ilia the greatest 45-pounder of all time, but we do give that distinction to a guy that Ilia shut off. So we talk about to be the greatest of all time, he's got to have this longevity, he's got to fight 5 more guys, and he's got to deal with all these things. Well, or he could just go beat Islam right now. Do you agree?
And here's the part that's going to absolutely destroy your mind. While everyone's debating whether Topuria can hang with the lightweights, they're completely ignoring the most terrifying aspect of his entire game. This man doesn't just study his opponents. He psychologically dissects them months before they even step into the octagon. You think that knockout of Volkanovski was just raw power and perfect timing? Think again. Topuria had been inside Volk's head for months, planting seeds of doubt, making him question his own invincibility. That's not fighting, that's warfare on a level most people can't even comprehend. But let's talk about what Islam Makhachev is really dealing with right now, because this situation is unprecedented in MMA history. The man has dominated everyone they've put in front of him, crushed legends, made elite fighters look like amateurs. But here's his problem. Every single opponent he's faced has had something to lose. A ranking to protect, a reputation to maintain, a career to salvage. Topuria, this savage has nothing to lose and everything to gain. When you're fighting someone who's already proven they can end careers with one shot, someone who's never tasted defeat, someone who genuinely believes they're destined for greatness, that changes everything about how you prepare, how you fight, how you sleep at night. And here's where it gets absolutely diabolical. The UFC tried to slow down this collision by telling Topuria he needed to defend his featherweight title first. Earn his stripes, they said. Prove your worth in your own division before thinking about lightweight. But what they didn't realize is that they just gave him the perfect opportunity to send an even more devastating message. Every featherweight title defense isn't just about keeping his belt. It's about showing Islam exactly what's coming for him. Each knockout, each dominant performance, each psychological destruction of elite competition is basically Topuria sending a personal video message to the lightweight champion saying, "This is your future." You want to know what real champions fear most? It's not losing their belt. It's not getting knocked out. It's becoming irrelevant. And that's exactly what Topuria represents to Islam Makhachev. See, Islam built his entire legacy on being the most complete fighter in the most stacked division. His wrestling, his submissions, his cardio, his fight IQ. All of it perfectly crafted to handle any style, any challenge, any threat. But Topuria isn't just another style or challenge. He's evolution. He represents the next generation of fighters who don't just master one aspect of the game. They transcend it entirely. When someone like that starts calling you out, it's not just about defending your title anymore. It's about defending your entire place in MMA history. But here's the psychological masterpiece that nobody's talking about. Topuria knows exactly what he's doing by taking his time with this lightweight move. Every month that passes, every interview where he casually mentions Islam's name, every training video that shows him getting bigger and stronger, it's all calculated torture. He's not just preparing physically for this fight. He's conducting a months-long psychological campaign designed to make Islam overthink everything. When you know someone is specifically training to destroy you, when you know they're studying every second of your fights, when you know they're building their entire career around the moment they get to face you, that kind of pressure can break even the strongest minds. And get this, because this detail is absolutely crucial to understanding what's really happening here. Topuria's team has been studying lightweight fights since before he even won the featherweight belt. Not just Islam's fights. Everyone in the top 10. They've been building a database, analyzing patterns, identifying weaknesses that nobody else has even noticed yet. By the time he actually makes the move to lightweight, he won't just be prepared for Islam. He'll be prepared to systematically dismantle the entire division. That's not confidence, that's strategic genius disguised as ambition. Now here's where everyone's analysis goes completely wrong, and this might be the most important point of this entire breakdown. People keep comparing Topuria's potential lightweight run to other champions who have moved up in weight. They're looking at historical data, success rates, physical advantages and disadvantages. But they're missing the fundamental difference that makes all those comparisons worthless. Every other champion who moved up did it after they had already been tested, already had close calls, already knew what it felt like to face adversity inside the octagon. Topuria is moving up with an unbroken spirit and an untested ceiling. That's not just rare in MMA history, it's virtually unprecedented. But wait, it gets even more insane when you realize what this means for Islam's preparation. How do you train for someone who's never shown their breaking point? How do you game plan against someone who's never been forced to fight from behind? Every fighter has tells, patterns they fall into when they're hurt, tired, or desperate. Islam's team can't study any of that with Topuria because he's never been in those situations. They're essentially preparing for a ghost, trying to solve a puzzle where half the pieces don't exist yet. That's the kind of mental advantage that money can't buy and training can't replicate. And here's the kicker that's going to blow your mind about the business side of this entire situation. The UFC initially resisted this fight, not because they thought Topuria would lose. They were terrified he might win. Think about what happens to their carefully constructed lightweight division if this Georgian savage rolls in and does to Islam what he did to Volkanovski. Suddenly, their most dominant champion is unconscious. Their biggest star in the division is questioning his entire career, and they have a new champion who's already talking about moving up to welterweight. That's not just a changing of the guard, that's a complete disruption of their long-term business model. But here's what the UFC brass didn't account for, and this is where their resistance backfired spectacularly. By making Topuria wait, by forcing him to prove himself further in featherweight, they didn't slow down his momentum. They gave him time to become even more dangerous. Every additional training camp, every new technique he masters, every mental breakthrough he has while preparing for other opponents, it's all making him a more complete weapon for when he finally gets his shot at Islam. They thought they were buying time to figure out how to handle this situation. Instead, they just gave their biggest problem more time to become unsolvable. So here's the timeline that's about to unfold, and this is where things get absolutely wild. Topuria cleans out featherweight over the next year, maybe two. Each defense more dominant than the last. Each victory sending a clearer message to the lightweight division. By the time he's ready to move up, he won't just be coming as a champion. He'll be coming as a proven destroyer of legends, a fighter who's shown he can end careers across an entire weight class. That's not just championship material. That's the resume of someone who rewrites the history books. And here's the part that should terrify every lightweight contender, not just Islam. When Topuria finally makes that move, he's not coming to work his way up the rankings. Champions don't start over. They arrive and immediately demand the biggest fight available. That means whoever's holding the lightweight belt when he decides to make the jump, they're going to have to deal with a fully realized killer who spent years preparing specifically for that moment. The scary part. It might not even be Islam anymore. Title changes happen, but Topuria's preparation and mindset, that's been locked in since day one. But let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address. What happens if Topuria actually pulls this off? What happens to MMA when someone proves they can dominate multiple divisions not through grinding decisions or controversial wins, but through pure, undeniable violence? The sport changes forever. Suddenly, every champion has to start looking over their shoulder, wondering if this Georgian nightmare is coming for their division next. That's not just individual success. That's reshaping the entire landscape of mixed martial arts through sheer force of will.